Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are doing something that I have been wanting to do for a really long time.
Oh, yeah. It's a big one.
It really is. We are freezing the frame. We're stopping the clock right before the end of, one of the greatest cultural phenomena we've ever seen. We're talking about Breaking Bad.
But not just the show in general, right?
Yeah.
We aren't doing a broad sweep today. We are looking at a very specific moment in time. The deep breath before the plunge, I guess you could say.
Exactly. We are diving into Season 5, Episode 15, the penultimate episode, Granite State.
Right.
Now, for anyone who was watching this live back in 2013, you remember the atmosphere. It was just suffocating.
Oh, totally. The tension was unbelievable.
The previous episode, Ozymandias, is widely considered the best hour of television ever made. And there was a nuclear bomb, Hank is dead, the money is stolen, the family is destroyed, and Walt is on the run.
Yeah, Ozymandias was the crash. I mean, it was the screaming, the crying, the blood. It was this high-octane trauma. But Granite State, this deep dive, is going to explore why this episode is actually the more interesting psychological study.
It's the silence after the crash.
Exactly. It's the fallout.
And we have an incredible stack of sources to help us unpack this for you today. We've got the original production notes from the writer and director Peter Gould.
Which are fascinating, by the way.
They really are. Plus, we've got critical essays from Rolling Stone, IGN, Vulture, and Slant that were written right in the heat of the moment. We're also looking at viewership data and some retrospective analysis that connects this episode to the wider Breaking Bad universe.
Specifically, Better Call Saul.
Yes, exactly.
Because that connection to Better Call Saul is going to be a huge part of our discussion today. Looking back, Granite State isn't just the end of Breaking Bad. It's essentially the backdoor pilot for the entire prequel series.
Even if they didn't know it at the time.
Right, exactly.
So here is the mission for this deep dive. We want to understand how this episode systematically dismantles the legend of Heisenberg.
Layer by layer.
Right. This isn't an episode about action. It's an episode about stripping a man of his power until there's absolutely nothing left but a dying man in a cabin.
It's about isolation. It's about the difference between being literally free and actually being alive. And it's about how, sometimes the scariest thing isn't the guy with the gun.
Yeah.
It's the guy with the polite smile who offers you ice cream.
Oh, man. Todd. We will definitely get to Todd.
We have to.
Let's set the context first. Ozymandias ends with Walt getting to that red van. He's leaving Albuquerque. He is leaving his identity behind. And according to the production notes, the writer's room, led by Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould, they kind of hit a wall here.
Yeah, they really did. They didn't know what to do next.
It's a classic writer's dilemma, right?
Yeah.
You've just blown up your protagonist's world. Does he immediately grab a gun and go full Rambo?
Right. Does he start plotting revenge right away? That's the standard action movie trope.
Exactly.
But Breaking Bad rarely does the standard thing.
No, it doesn't. Peter Gould mentions in these interviews that they debated having Walt be angry, having him be that cornered rat immediately. But they realized that just didn't feel true to the trauma of what just happened.
It would have been cheap.
Yeah. So they decided to go with depression. They wanted Walt to hit bottom.
And that tonal shift is jarring for the viewer. If you binge the show now, you go from the bright, harsh desert sunlight of Ozymandias to this dim, cramped, claustrophobic darkness of the vacuum repair shop basement.
Let's talk about that basement. Because this is the first time we actually see where Saul Goodman and Walter White end up when they pull the ripcord.
We've heard about the disappear for seasons.
Right. We saw the business card. We knew the vacuum repair cover story.
No.
But now we're actually in the belly of the beast.
It's a literal purgatory. You have these two titans of the Albuquerque drug trade.
Heisenberg, the kingpin.
And Saul Goodman, the criminal lawyer. And they are bunking together like college freshmen in a dorm room.
A very damp, dusty, concrete dorm room.
Exactly. And the production design here is so telling. It's stripped of all glamour. There are no stacks of money on the table. There's just the hum of the ventilation and this ticking clock.
And the dynamic between them has completely flipped.
Entirely. Think about their relationship up to this point. Walt has always been the alpha.
Always.
He bullies Saul, he shouts, he threatens, he grabs him by the lapels. Saul has always been the terrified jester, just trying to keep the king happy. But in this basement, Walt tries to play that card one last time.
He does. He's pacing around the room. He's trying to formulate a plan. He wants Saul to give him a list of hitmen.
Right.
He wants to hire a crew to go wipe out Jack Welker's gang and get his money back. He's trying to conjure up the spirit of Heisenberg, as one critic put it.
He's literally putting on the costume. He puts on the pork pie hat, he adopts the wide stance. But the reality of his failing body betrays him.
Yeah.
He puffs up his chest to intimidate Saul, to do the whole I am the danger routine, and what happens?
He doubles over coughing.
He doubles over. It's pathetic. And I mean that in the true literary sense. It induces pity.
The cancer is back, and it's back with a vengeance. And Saul's reaction is what really sells the scene for me. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't back away like he used to.
No. Saul just looks at him. He looks at this dying man, breathless and weak, and he realizes the monster is gone. The boogeyman is just a sick old guy. And Saul delivers what I think is his most serious line in the entire series up to this point.
Yeah.
He says, "It's over."
It's over. It's such a simple line, but coming from Saul Goodman, the guy who always has a scheme, always has a guy who knows a guy, it's devastating.
He's telling Walt that there are no more moves on the chessboard. The game is done.
And this is where the two characters diverge. This is the fork in the road. Saul is choosing survival. He's choosing to walk away. Walt is just unable to accept that the game is ended.
Now, we have to pause here and talk about the departure of Saul Goodman.
Yes, definitely.
Because he leaves the basement, he walks out of Walt's life, and he heads toward a black car that's going to take him to Nebraska. But before he goes, he says something that at the time we all kind of just laughed at.
The Cinnabon prophecy.
It's the Cinnabon prophecy. He looks at Walt and says, "If I'm lucky, a month from now, best case scenario, I'm managing a Cinnabon in Omaha."
It is arguably the most famous throwaway line in television history. And I want to emphasize that word, throwaway.
Yeah.
I was reading an interview with Peter Gould, and he admitted that when he wrote that line, it was literally just a joke. It was just a specific, funny detail to illustrate how incredibly mundane Saul's life was about to become.
Yeah.
They had no concrete plans for a spin-off set in Omaha.
That is mind-blowing to me, because if you watch Better Call Saul, that line is the gospel. The entire black and white timeline of that show, Gene Talkovich, the mustache, the mall, it's all built on this one sentence.
It shows the organic nature of storytelling in this universe. Once Better Call Saul was greenlit, they looked back at the scripture Breaking Bad and said, well, Saul said he was going to Omaha to manage a Cinnabon, so I guess we're going to Omaha.
And it goes even deeper than that. If you look at the timeline, the events we are seeing in Granite State, Walt, and Saul in the basement are happening simultaneously with events we see years later in Better Call Saul.
Specifically, the episode, Quite a Ride.
Yes. In Quite a Ride, we see the frantic energy of Saul tearing apart his office, shredding documents, collecting the cash from the ceiling tiles, all while Francesca is holding down the fort.
Right.
That is happening right before he gets to this basement.
So when Saul is sitting on that bunk bed, staring at the ceiling, he's just come from destroying his entire life's work.
Yeah.
He's traumatized, too.
Exactly.
It adds so much weight to his silence. He's not just annoyed with Walt. He's actively mourning Saul Goodman.
He really is. And when he walks out that door, Saul Goodman is dead. He is becoming Gene, and Walt is left alone.
But while Walt is being shipped off to the snowy isolation of New Hampshire, we have to look at what he left behind. Because if Walt's story becomes one of quiet desperation, the story back in Albuquerque turns into a straight-up horror movie.
This is the dark timeline. We need to talk about Jesse, Todd, and the Whites.
Yeah.
Because the power vacuum Walt left behind has been filled by something much, much worse than Heisenberg.
Let's start with the raid on Marie's house. We see Jack Welker and his neo-Nazi gang breaking in, and they find Jesse's confession tape.
The one he made for Hank.
Right. And this is a crucial plot point. Jack watches the tape, and his immediate reaction is very old-school criminal. He says he's a rat. Kill him.
Jack is pragmatic. He doesn't hold grudges. He just removes loose ends. It's business to him.
But then we have Todd. Todd Alquist. I think Todd might be one of the most disturbing villains in TV history.
Because he's so pleasant.
Yes.
Todd is the banality of evil personified. He doesn't twirl a mustache. He doesn't scream. He says sorry and please. And he intervenes to save Jesse's life here, but not because he cares about Jesse.
No, he wants to learn to cook.
Right. He needs to get the purity up. But let's think about why. Why does Todd care about the purity of the meth?
That's a great question.
He's already rich. They stole Walt's millions. They have literal barrels of cash buried in the desert. They don't need to cook anymore.
It's Lydia, isn't it?
It's entirely about Lydia Rodarte Quayle. Todd has this twisted adolescent crush on her. He knows that Lydia is a perfectionist. She creates chaos when the product isn't up to standard.
Remember, she was ready to cut ties completely.
Exactly. Todd keeps Jesse alive as a pet chemist solely so he can bring 92% pure meth to Lydia and impress her.
That is so deeply creepy. He's keeping a human being in a concrete cage and torturing him just so he can flirt with a business associate.
It reduces Jesse's existence to a bargaining chip in a weird sociopathic courtship. And to keep this operation running, they have to secure the perimeter. That means silencing Skylar.
The scene where they break into Skylar's house is terrifying.
It really is.
They appear in the baby's room, standing over Holly.
Yeah.
It's a violation of the highest order.
And look at the contrast here. Walt tried to control Skylar through manipulation and gaslighting. Todd controls her through sheer, unspoken physical threat.
Yeah.
They threaten her to keep quiet about Lydia. And Skylar, who stood up to Walt so many times, is completely paralyzed by these men. She knows they are a different breed of animal entirely.
But nobody suffers more in this episode, and honestly maybe in the whole series, than Jesse Pinkman.
We have to talk about the escape attempt.
We do.
Because for a brief moment, the show gives us a glimmer of hope. Jesse manages to pick the lock. He gets out of the concrete pit. He runs for the chain link fence.
And the directing here is just masterful. We see the stars. We see the wide open sky. You can almost feel the cold night air. For a second, you really think he's gonna make it.
And then the floodlights hit him.
It's heartbreaking.
He's dragged back down, but the punishment isn't a beating. Jack doesn't break his legs. They decide to break his mind.
They put him in the van and drive him to a residential street. And when they pull up, my stomach just dropped. I knew exactly where they were.
Andrea's house. The woman Jesse loved. Brock's mother.
This scene, it's really hard to watch. They park the van across the street. Jesse is gagged, screaming against the window. And Todd walks up to the porch.
Let's analyze Todd's behavior here because it's chilling. He knocks on the door. He smiles. He says, personal thing, really. He is so unbelievably polite. He doesn't look like a monster. He looks like a friendly neighbor.
Right.
And then he pulls the trigger and shoots her in the back of the head.
It's the silence that gets me. He just does it.
Yeah.
There's no speech, no anger, just a pop. And then he turns around and walks away.
And Jesse, watching from the car, the camera just stays on Aaron Paul's face. It's the absolute destruction of a human spirit. This is the moment Jesse Pinkman ceases to be a person and truly becomes a tool.
And just to twist the knife, Jack threatens Brock. He says if Jesse ever tries to escape again, they'll kill the boy.
That's the luck. That is why Jesse stays. It's not the physical cage that holds him anymore. It's the threat to the one innocent thing left in his world.
The critics praised this sequence for how it completely shifted the audience's alignment. Up until now, you could argue Walt was the ultimate villain of the show, but compared to Jack and Todd, Walt looks like a saint.
It clarifies the endgame. The audience needs to want these guys dead. By killing Andrea, the show makes sure that when Walt eventually comes back, we aren't asking, is this moral? We're just saying, get him.
So while Jesse is living in literal hell, Walt arrives in the Granite State, New Hampshire.
And we finally see the disappearer in action, Ed Galbraith, played by Robert Forster.
Robert Forster, what a legend. I read that he won the Saturn Award for this role, and he's only in this one episode of Breaking Bad.
He brings such a unique gravitas to the role. Yeah. He's a no-nonsense professional. He's not a criminal in the flashy way Saul is. He's a service provider.
Yeah.
And he drives Walt all the way across the country in a propane truck to this secluded cabin.
Now, a little behind-the-scenes magic for you. We're supposed to be in the snowy mountains of New Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
And the wide shots of the snow were actually filmed in Crawford Notch, New Hampshire.
Right.
But the cabin itself, that was built on a soundstage. And the exterior close-ups were shot in the Sandia Mountains in New Mexico.
They had to truck in fake snow for that. But visually, it works perfectly. It feels miles away from the desert of Albuquerque.
Let's talk about the deal Ed offers Walt, because this is where the theme of isolation really kicks into high gear.
It's a very stark contract. Ed says, I am your lifeline. He will come once a month with food, newspapers, and chemotherapy supplies. But that's it.
No phone.
No phone, no internet, no television reception that gets any news from outside the local area.
And the visuals of the cabin reflect this perfectly. It's rustic, sure, but it's essentially a prison cell.
Critics like Seth Ameton from IGN noted the color palette shift here. We are so used to the sickly greens and the bright yellows of Albuquerque. Here, everything is white, gray, and brown. It's the white motif.
White like his name.
Exactly. It symbolizes a blank slate, but also a void. It's a kind of non-existence.
And Walt has the barrel. He managed to save about $11 million, but he takes out a stack of cash, must be $100,000, and he puts it on the table. And there's nowhere to spend it.
This is the central irony of the episode. The Ozymandias poem touches on this. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Walt has built his massive empire. He has his immense fortune, and it is completely useless.
He can't buy a loaf of bread.
He can't buy a conversation. He is the richest man in the graveyard.
And then the show does something it rarely ever does. It gives us a time jump. We see the text on the screen. New Hampshire, live free or die.
That state motto is doing a lot of heavy lifting right there. Live free or die. Walt is technically free. He's not in prison.
Right.
But he is dying, and the freedom is a curse.
When we see Walt after the time jump months later, he looks awful.
The makeup department deserves an award here.
Yeah.
He's gaunt. His glasses are taped together. He has a full head of hair and this bushy beard. He looks like a hermit who has completely lost touch with humanity.
And he's so desperate for connection. When Ed comes for the monthly supply run, Walt practically begs him to stay.
This is one of the most pathetic, again, inciting pity moments for Walt. He pays Ed. He literally takes a stack of cash, probably $10,000, and says, I'll give you this if you stay for 1 hour.
Just to play cards.
Just to play cards, just to have another human being sit across from him. This is a man who used to command rooms. He used to kill people who disrespected him. Now he's paying a delivery driver to be his friend.
And Ed gives him the update on his family. And it's bleak.
Skylar is using her maiden name. She's working as a taxi dispatcher just to make ends meet. She and the kids are in this tiny cramped apartment. And the house, the famous white residence.
Well, man, the house.
It's abandoned, it's fenced off. Kids are skateboarding in the empty pool. It's become a literal tourist attraction.
That detail about the tourist attraction really hit me. It means Walt has passed into legend. He's not a real person to Albuquerque anymore. He's an urban myth.
And that hurts him more than anything. He wanted to leave a legacy of provision. He wanted to be the man who saved his family. Instead, he left a legacy of total ruin. His family is struggling, and his empire is a ghost town.
The isolation eventually just breaks him. He decides he can't do it anymore. He packs up some money into this pathetic little cardboard box, and he starts walking down the snowy road to town.
The music here is incredible. Dave Porter's score is so sparse, just this lonely, cold, driving sound. Walt walks out of the woods and finds a local dive bar.
And here we see the last flicker of Heisenberg. He needs to talk to his son. He needs to make things right. But he knows he can't just call the apartment, so he pulls a ruse.
He's still clever. He pays the barmaid to call Flynn's school. He has her pretend to be Marie. It's a classic Walt manipulation to get Flynn on the phone.
This phone call. It's the climax of the episode emotionally. Walt is pouring his heart out. He's trying to explain himself. He says he's sending money to Flynn's friend Louis so Flynn can accept it without the police knowing.
He's desperately trying to rationalize everything. He's clinging to the one lie he's told himself since the pilot episode. It's for the family. If he can just give them the money, then the murders, the meth, the destruction, it validates it. It makes it all worth it.
But Flynn destroys that illusion.
Flynn is not having it. He doesn't hear a provider on the other end of the line. He hears the man who killed Uncle Hank.
And Flynn screams at him. He says, "You killed Uncle Hank. You killed him." And then he delivers the line that finally kills Walter White. He says, "Why don't you just die?"
Why didn't you just die? You know, the critic Laura Hudson pointed out a brilliant parallel with this specific line.
Oh.
What was that? In season 1, Flynn asks the exact same question, but the context was totally different. Back then, Walt was refusing treatment for his lung cancer. Flynn was a scared kid, angry that his dad was just giving up. He asked, "Why don't you just die?" as a way of saying, "Why are you quitting? Fight for us."
Wow. And now?
Now, it's literal. It's the pure rage of the wronged. He isn't saying, "Don't give up." He's saying, "Please remove yourself from the earth." He is actively wishing for his father's death.
That is heartbreaking. It's the exact same words, but the meaning is completely inverted over 5 seasons.
And you can see it on Bryan Cranston's face. That is the bullet to the heart. The money is rejected. The love is rejected. His son hates him.
And there's a great piece of production trivia about this scene. Apparently, while they were filming this intense, crying phone call, an airplane flew right over the set and ruined the audio.
Yes. Can you imagine? You're giving the emotional performance of your life, snot running down your nose, and a jet engine just roars overhead. They had to yell, cut. And Bryan Cranston, being the pro he is, had to completely reset and summon all that pain back up for another take.
That is unbelievable. So Flynn hangs up, and Walt is broken. He drops the phone, leaving it dangling.
He is totally defeated. He realizes that for the family is a lie. The family wants him dead. So he does the only thing left to do. He calls the DEA.
He surrenders. He gives them the address of the bar, leaves the phone off the hook so they can trace him, and goes to sit down. He orders a drink, a dimple pinch, neat, and he sits there waiting for the handcuffs.
And he says that line to the bartender, "It can't all have been for nothing."
But as the critic Tim Goodman noted in his review, the show is suggesting that at this exact moment, yes, it was all for nothing. He has lost everything.
He's sitting there, a failed kingpin, waiting to die in a prison hospital. And if the episode ended right there, it would be a classical tragedy, a pure story of hubris and the inevitable fall.
But the universe has one last cosmic joke to play on Walter White.
The TV above the bar.
Charlie Rose.
Walt looks up and sees an interview. And of all the people in the world, who is on the screen? Gretchen and Elliott Schwartz, the founders of Gray Matter Technologies.
His old college partners. The people he feels stole his research. The people who are living the billionaire life he always believed he deserved.
And the interviewer asks them about Walter White. Because, of course, the news is all about the blue meth and the nationwide manhunt. And Elliott twists the knife.
He doesn't call Walt a monster. He doesn't call him a criminal mastermind.
No. He trivializes him. He says that Walter White had nothing to do with the success of Gray Matter. He says Walt's only contribution was the name.
The name, that's it.
This is a direct, laser-guided attack on Walt's ego. And remember, throughout the series, we've slowly learned that Walt's true drug wasn't meth. It was pride. It was getting credit. He left Gray Matter years ago because of his own inferiority complex. He built the meth empire to prove he was the best at something.
And here are these two people on national television erasing him. They're rewriting history to say he was a nobody.
And that is what wakes him up.
Okay.
The family rejected him, and he was ready to surrender. But these two people insulting his intelligence, that he absolutely cannot abide.
It's fascinating, isn't it? He was willing to go to jail for his son's hatred, but he's willing to go to war for his own pride.
It's the return of Heisenberg. The camera slowly pushes in on his face. The actual Breaking Bad theme music starts to thump, which they very rarely use in the show itself.
And the police arrive. They surround the bar in the snow. They come bursting in with guns drawn.
But the stool is empty. The glass of dimple pinch is empty. He's gone.
It gives me chills every single time. It's
Yeah.
such a perfect setup for the finale.
It totally pivots his motivation. He's not going back to Albuquerque to save his family, not primarily anyway. He's going back to settle scores. He's going back to secure his legacy. He's going to make sure everyone remembers the name Heisenberg.
Well, let's talk about the reception of this episode, because Ozymandias gets all the glory, but Granite State put up some serious numbers.
It really did. It actually beat Ozymandias in viewership. 6.6 million people watched this live. It was a record high for the series at that time.
Everyone needed to know what happened next.
And the critical reception was glowing. I mean, it has a 9.7 out of 10 on IMDb. Chuck Bowen from Slant Magazine praised how it coolly navigated the shifting tones. It was recognized as an absolute masterpiece of pacing.
And the runtime was actually extended for this one, right?
Yeah, both this episode and the finale ran 75 minutes with commercials, so you're looking at about 53 minutes of actual content. That extra time allowed for those long, silent, depressing scenes in the cabin to really breathe.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the big takeaways? What is the legacy of Granite State?
First, it bridges the gap. It closes the book on Saul Goodman and sets up Better Call Saul. It's essential viewing if you want to understand that spin-off.
It's okay.
It completes the isolation of Walter White. It strips him of every single excuse he ever had. He has no family, no money that works, no friends. He is forced to just sit there and face himself in that cabin.
And finally,
It sets up the end. It clarifies that Walt's final journey is about ego. It's about gray matter. It's about, as he eventually admits, I did it for me.
which leads us to our final thought. And this is something I really want you to chew on after listening.
It's the question of fate versus coincidence. Think about that bar scene. Walt was literally seconds away from being arrested. If the bartender had changed the channel to a football game, if Gretchen and Elliott had been booked on Letterman instead of Charlie Rose, If Walt had sat in a booth where he couldn't see the TV.
He would have just been arrested. The entire show would have ended with Walt in handcuffs crying into a scotch in New Hampshire.
Exactly. The machine gun in the trunk, the rescue of Jesse, the ricin for Lydia, none of that happens.
So was it fate? Did the universe conspire to give Heisenberg one last ride? Or is it just the biggest, wildest coincidence in TV history?
Did a random rerun of Charlie Rose spark the destruction of a neo-Nazi gang? It certainly seems so.
Next time you watch that scene, look at his eyes. You can see the exact moment the surrender turns into rage.
It's the moment Walter White dies, and Heisenberg takes the wheel for good.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been incredible to slow down and really look at the quiet moments that make this show a masterpiece.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time. Stay curious.